And welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix Louisville. We are in round number 9. This is the last round of day 1, and the players in our main feature match here are playing for day 2. They both have 2 losses, nothing to give here, and it's Adrian. I think we might have the wrong names up. It's Adrian Sullivan on the left-hand side of your screen, and you can tell because he plays his lands up front and upside down.
Very true.
He is he's playing kind of an innovative version of, well, mono blackish, but it also has 2 splashes, so it's kind of hard to call it mono anything. It's a bug deck. It's got blue, black, and green, and we see.
In many ways, it's a green-black deck, and he gets to play Temple of Mystery and some number of Breeding Pool, and those are lands that produce green mana and also produce blue mana, which help him cast his Night Veil Spectre, which is a card that costs blue or black mana. So he's not really playing blue here. He's just playing a black-green deck, but the blue lands allow him to have green lands that cast Night Veil Spectre.
All right, so Adrian Sullivan is the player on the left-hand side. Stuart Hunt on the right. We're getting those switched up for you guys. Adrian does have his Night Veil Spectre online here. It's doing a great job holding off two different Burning Tree emissaries, and now he's even going to have the opportunity to get it in there for some damage and maybe draw a card. Now it looks like his opponent's on mono red though, and it'll be a while before he's able to cast anything from his Night Veil Spectre anyway. Here's Watery Grave untapped, and he's just going to ship the turn back. It's hard to blame him here. His Night Veil Spectre is going to do a fine job holding off the 4 potential damage here from the Burning Tree emissaries. He also has a Doomblade in hand. He can use that to take out the Boros Reckoner, or, I don't know if you caught a glimpse there, Jake, but he's also got one of his 4 main deck Gaze of Granite in his hand as well, which he can try to set up for a later game play. Feels like you want to Doomblade the Reckoner here and then try to Gaze of Granite away the emissaries, or what do you like here?
I definitely like a Doomblade here. I feel like the play is definitely to preserve your life total as much as possible. If he's not going to be Doomblading.
Wow, he is going to just get a wrecking ball here if he's got another land.
And it looks like Adrian does not have that extra land.
He doesn't have it,
but another Night Veil Spectre is actually quite good here.
You know, interestingly, he could have attacked first and just hoped to hit that mountain.
Yes.
Play it, and then he could have done it, but he's just going to lay back here. Keep both of his creatures back, and
better safe than sorry in many ways.
He might even
he would have hit that mountain.
He would have. He might convince his opponent though to extend even further. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage from a Fanatic of Mogus. That can't make Adrian happy, but he is going to be happy with the result if he can hit a land here. Yeah, he would have hit that mountain.
Yeah, but I mean,
But he is holding back everybody. He did draw a land. I couldn't see if it was a Watery Grave or a Temple of Deceit.
Comes into play tapped here, so it
awkward.
is a Temple of Deceit.
Now he's got a great game plan going forward, though. He's got a Gray Merchant of Asphodel in his hand, and that thing on its own represents a 16-point life swing on this board state.
Ooh, and he finds the land there off Night Veil Spectre.
All right, so he took a shot at it, and boom, Gaze of Granite. That was sweet. He went for it. He's like, heck with it. And that's going to kill everything except for the Fanatic of Mogus here. And he's left back 1 Night Veil Spectre as he points to his opponent. Your move, sir.
Not only that, but now these Night Veil Spectres, they can start charging in and actually casting spells.
Absolutely.
Thanks to his...
a miserable Burning Tree emissary, and you see Adrian taunt his opponent a little bit like, you want to trade? I'll trade.
Now here, he's going to drain his opponent for 8 life points.
Yep.
With Gray Merchant of Asphodel.
Yep. Plus 8,
just gonna
minus
be
8.
huge.
It's a huge swing here.
Yeah, putting his opponent down to 12, jumping him back up to 18. Then he gets to crack in for damage with Night Veil Spectre.
I mean, do you do it first to see what you hit? Like, what's the play here? Not a lot that can really interact with his play, right? Of having the 2/4 Gray Merchant on the battlefield.
And I mean, he jumps to 18 too, and then he gets something that trades with
he's
just about
just
anything.
run it out there
yeah,
first.
I like that.
So 3, 6, 7, 8. Man, these devotion cards just create huge swings in the game state. You can see that Gray Merchant creates a swing in both directions while Fanatic is in one direction, but wow.
You know, Adrian's green splash for that Gaze of Granite really does increase the power of the Mono Black Devotion deck. I've been saying for a long time the big problem with the Mono Black Devotion deck is that it lacks a Mutilate effect. And Gaze of Granite really fills that hole. I like it.
All right, so 2 lands here. I believe he played that Temple of Deceit this turn, if I'm not mistaken. So
he did.
He's not going to be able to play one of those lands this turn. But, you got to also take a look. It's funny how this works. I mean, it felt like Adrian was on his back foot, and he was for a while. He has his opponent at 6.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that,
turns around very quick.
Those huge hits with the Gray Merchant, and then combine that with 4 damage in the air, and he's got his opponent on a 2-turn clock here.
Yeah, now, I mean, here he can just...
He can battle with
He can just
everybody if
Gaze
he
of
really
Granite for
wanted.
2 here.
Yeah.
And then battle with everybody, and his opponent will have to block with the Fanatic, and then his opponent goes to 2, no cards in hand, and he has 2 2-power flyers in play. It's just a locked-up game.
Yeah.
So Gaze for 2, and game gets locked up.
Those go away.
Everybody comes rumbling in the red zone.
He loses nothing.
Well, he loses the Gray Merchant.
I didn't.
Well, if
I
his
meant
opponent blocks with the Fanatic.
Yeah, I meant actually from the Gaze of Granite.
Oh, yeah.
Because that does hit his stuff too.
Yes, it does.
He just has. Both times he resolved it this game, he had nothing that it actually hit. No coincidence, I'm sure. His deck does have
just how he drew it up.
Yeah. So great stuff there from Adrian Sullivan for his on his first game. We got to see what his deck really is trying to do, which is use Gaze of Granite to keep the small stuff out of the way, use spot removal to keep the big stuff out of the way, and then grind his opponent out with combinations like Gray Merchant and Night Veil Spectre. He's also got some very expensive, which I'm assuming are going to be coming out here, but he's got some pretty spicy stuff in the sideboard that I've seen as well. We'll hang in here and see if he ends up playing any of it. My guess is that he won't. When you're going to play more expensive spells out of the board, they usually don't come in against mono red.
Definitely not. However, as a sort of mono black strategy, he's definitely got some cards in his deck like Underworld Connections and Thoughtseize that he's really going to want to take out here.
Okay.
But I like Adrian's deck a lot. Here he is playing for day 2.
Is that a Rashad Miller
Grand Prix
token?
Louisville.
Wow.
A very old Rashad Miller token.
Yeah.
How old is Rashad in that picture? What did you say, like 16, 15?
No, he's older than that.
In that picture?
He hasn't aged a bit, though. I'm looking at
Not
it
at
right
all.
now. He's still wearing that same hat today, too, somehow. Those
Progenitor Mimics.
Yeah.
Those are not going to be in his deck
Those
after
will not
sideboarding.
be in there, but that's pretty spicy. It's got
Although
some other
there
stuff,
isn't
too.
much that I would rather do against a mono red deck than... Ooh, those negates can come out, buddy.
He's giving us a look. Adrian is a commentator himself. He is no stranger to the booth. And looks like he's helping us out a little bit by holding up the cards and making his decision.
He's going to put the Gaze and the Desecration Demon in, or that would be my choice. I mean, he's played the deck a lot more than me. I'm sure he has a much more solid understanding of what he needs to do.
Did he tell you, is this his list that he came up with, or was
I'm
this
sure it
something?
is. This is a very Adrian Sullivan deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was certainly excited about it, and he really does feel like it's a very strong deck.
It looks very strong to
Yeah,
me.
when he came by earlier, or I was out on the floor when I was on my break, and of course I immediately went over and watched Magic the whole time. But anyway, he came by and he told me that he's picked up 2 losses today, and he said, "I'm not normally the type of person to say stuff like this." He said, "But I actually feel like I just got very unlucky." And, he's not the person that comes up to you at a tournament. It's like, "Oh, I run so bad. How could I get?" At least that's what he's claiming. And, and he says, look, I feel like the deck is just fantastic, and I got unlucky a couple of times, but, like, it's good to go.
Yeah, I really do like his deck a lot. Hopefully he continues to do well and makes it, much further in this tournament. I don't mean to, show favoritism, but I really like his deck, and I would like to see more of it. So I had the opportunity to play against it on Magic Online earlier this week, and
Now,
his
that
deck
was
did
random,
have,
though, right? You were practicing.
I was in an 8-man.
Yeah.
And I think I played against him in the finals of the 8-man, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I mulliganed to 5 in the first game, and then played a Xenagos on turn 3, and he couldn't really interact with it, and an army of 2/2 haste guys beat him. And then in the next game, I had a very strong draw where I was able to have a 5/5 in play on turn 2 and a Garruk in play on turn 4.
Oof.
So
that's
him.
That's a handful, yeah.
But it was a combination of him unable to draw the hero's downfall that was necessary for him to deal with my Xenagos, and then a combination of me in game 2 just drawing a beautiful, beautiful hand. And if you draw a perfect hand with the Gruul Devotion deck, you win because it has the best draws.
Are you trying to say you like this deck?
Yes.
Curious to see how well it does at the tournament. It was your early pick for actually the winner of the tournament. Does he have? Why are some of his lands upside down? I always hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
When you shuffle.
I always readjust.
Yeah.
When if my opponent shuffles my deck, it ends up in different directions.
All right. So Adrian's taking a look at his hand. We can get a reasonable look at it there. I believe that he's thinking. He said, hold on a second.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the draw here, and nothing in his hand really costs less than 3.
Yeah.
It's a really dangerous place to be against a deck that's got so many 1-drops like Mono Red.
So Adrian Sullivan up 1 game here in this 9th round at Grand Prix Louisville. We're playing standard. Adrian has a bit of a brew here. It's a bug-colored deck featuring Gaze of Granite, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and some sweet removal. And he's playing up against Stuart Hunt, who's on the Red Devotion deck. But it looks like I don't know if I'd call this the Red Devotion deck as much as just it's kind of just a mono red. It has Fire Drinker Satyr and...
Yeah, it's not Red Devotion. Yeah, see,
right?
He has Fnatic, but he's still just red deck wins.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he would be playing Nykthos trying to Nyx or anything like that in his deck. There are no Stormbreath Dragons. He's on the low end here. Okay. Adrian, I really like this mulligan from him. He has no interaction until turn 3. He's on the draw against a red strategy. It's just not where he wants to be. Going to 6 cards, I'd feel more comfortable with that, because later on in the game, you're going to have cards that represent more than one card, like Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and you can recoup that loss pretty easily.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, it did meet the requirement that most people have, which is it had some lands and some spells in a reasonable ratio. But, yeah, I like the mull here as well. All right, so Adrian's going to play a Temple of Deceit. He's going to scry, ship this one. Nope, keep it. And he's facing down a Rakdos Cackler from Stuart Hunt, which is threatening to do quite a bit of damage here. Adrian's got to find something in the early stages to get that thing off his back, and like a Doomblade won't get her done here. All right, clear the way for a Fire Drinker Satyr. Twins? Yes, another Fire Drinker Satyr.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
So we have 6 power, and there's a Pack Rat on turn 2 here. Now, I think that Pack Rat's going to just get lightning struck.
Yes, it's probably going to be struck by lightning here.
Curious, would Adrian just trade off his Pack Rat here if given the opportunity?
I'm sure he would, happily.
You see it jumping around. So let's see if his opponent, Stuart Hunt, wants to pre-combat. It looks like he's got 2 options. He has a Magma Jet, which I think he's going to fire off here. Yeah, he does. Magma Jet your Pack Rat, scry 2, keep the... He's got a Chandra Pyromaster and a Lightning Strike in his hand. He puts one card on top and one on bottom, and bang, hits you for 6 damage. So Adrian Sullivan all the way down to 12 right off the bat here. And he finds a Mutavault. Not the worst possible draw here, but is he going to have to just trade that Mutavault off for one of these threats?
No, I don't think so. I think he very much wants to resolve a big Gaze of Granite, and by playing this Mutavault, I think he's baiting his opponent into playing into Gaze of Granite for one. I don't know how much I love the Mutavault play, but actually it's a very good play here because he gets to go down to 11 here, then he's going to take 6 damage, drop to 5, and then he gets to Hero's Downfall to Chandra, and then on his turn he can hypothetically Gaze of Granite
a green source.
With a green source, and then wipe his opponent's whole board. That does, however, leave him at 3 life, and we know, because we're sitting in the booth here, that Stuart Hunt has Lightning Strike in hand.
Yeah. All right. Well, a really nice draw here for Stuart. All right, and here is the Hero's Downfall.
Yeah, I think he's just got to target the Chandra. Oh.
No, he's going to take the Cackler. Now, that's going to leave Chandra Pyromaster on the board, and it's going to be a continuing problem for him, but
He's
it
still at
does mean
7.
that he goes down to 7 here. And Desecration Demon is going to have to do here. He does not find a green source.
I believe he has an
Gaze of
Overgrown Tomb in hand, but taking that 2 damage is just way too much right now for him to.
All right. Chandra's going to tick up here potentially. Yeah, she goes to 6. Ping your demon. Ping you for 1. So killing the Cackler a little bit less, but that's going to do it. Lightning Strike to finish off Adrian Sullivan and even this match at 1 game apiece.
You know, the red deck on the play, especially when they go 1-drop into 2 1-drops on turn 2, that's so much for the black deck to deal with, and the black deck can really get run over, and that's one of its really susceptible spots. That's its weak point.
It is not a fast deck.
Its Achilles heel is a red deck having 2 or more creatures in play on turn 2.
Okay.
And I think that Achilles heel applies similarly to its matchup against the green deck. Although Adrian's version looks like it's better suited to deal with the green deck because it does have Gaze of Granite, and the green deck doesn't apply the same kind of pressure with its degenerate all over the board draws.
Right. So we're going to get a game 3 here.
It looks like it.
And the winner of this game is going to advance to day 2 and is going to get to come back tomorrow and battle for a chance to top 8. If you make the top 8 at a Grand Prix, it's what they call a cut to the top 8, meaning that you don't your record doesn't matter anymore. It matters a little bit for tiebreaker or for C gets to go first type stuff, but you have a new lease on life, and if you just win 3 rounds in a row, you win a GP.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
You go tabula rasa when you pass into that top 8 zone.
But the first stage is winning this game because one of these players does not get to compete in the Grand Prix on day 2 tomorrow. And it's the person who fails to win this exact game.
You always want to play both days of the Grand Prix. It always feels good to be playing on day 2 of a Grand Prix. You know, it has that air, almost like that Pro Tour style air of, here we are, this is it. You know, we're playing, this is big time Magic now.
The best is when it's limited, too, because you get to draft a bunch of
Oh,
things.
yeah, and you get to just keep drafting. And you draft against good people, too. It's great.
All right, upside down cards all over the place again here for Stuart Hunt. He really should sort those out. But Adrian Sullivan is going to be on the play here, and it looks like he's examining his opener. We've got a keeper, Swamp Go. And turn 1 Fire Drinker Satyr here, or Rakdos Cackler. There's a Cackler. Take the chain off of that particular creature, so it's a 2/2, which cannot block, and Adrian pauses for a moment. We're scrying one here off Temple of Mystery. And he put it back on top?
Looks like he put it back on top.
Okay, so perfect
gotta be
mana
good
here
for
so
him.
far for Adrian Sullivan. He's got all of his colors, and he's going to take a couple of damage here from the Cackler, but it looks like he's going to potentially find a target for that Doomblade that's in his hand here. And there's one right now, Fire Drinker Satyr. And, man, he's got to be happy, right, that his opponent didn't just play an Ash Zealot and hit him in the face or something along those lines.
Definitely. I mean, now he's got to be pretty excited, too, because he's guaranteed a 2-for-1 the following turn with his Gaze of Granite. And his opponent is going to
And he has one in his hand?
He does have one in his hand.
Okay.
But what he really needs to do is he really needs to find things like Hero's Downfall, because he's seen in the last game that his opponent does have access to Chandra Pyromaster, and that card can be a serious issue for his deck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Steady stream of beats.
Yeah, at this point, I think he's really just looking to put anything on the bottom that's not a Hero's Downfall. Or a Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Okay. Which he has one of in his hand right now. He's also got a Doomblade, a Mutavault, Gaze of Granite. Man, Gaze of Granite is so savage versus the all one-drops deck, you know?
It really is.
All right, there's a Chandra's Phoenix here on turn 3, though. Now, is this a Doomblade target?
I think he's probably going to go ahead and Abrupt Decay this Chandra's Phoenix.
Abrupt Decay, sure. I mean, because he's going to take a bunch of damage off it, and really, no way he's going to get to 6 mana for Gaze of Granite before that thing's done. Way too much work to be comfortable with, right?
I agree. I think that an Abrupt Decay on the Chandra's Phoenix is a fine play. Or Doomblade. That's also
That's
very
better,
reasonable.
right? Because Abrupt Decay can hit things like Rakdos Cackler or whatever.
Or Hammer of Perforos, something like that, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, very good point. Another Doomblade off the top for Adrian, and let's just take a 2-for-1 here. Good old-fashioned way to get ahead in Magic. Gaze of Granite is going to wipe away both creatures for Stuart Hunt.
Yeah, the Golgari Supreme Verdict, as we've seen there.
Yeah? All right, now here's the key turn, though, right? Stuart has to bounce back from this. He's got to recommit something to the board that's going to get him ahead. He chooses Chandra Pyromaster. Is this the card that he wants to get him back ahead?
It's exactly the card he's looking for.
Okay.
It's not only going to start pinging away at Adrian's life total, but it's going to make that Chandra's Phoenix a recurable source of damage here. So remember that Chandra's Phoenix actually says that when a spell you control deals damage to your opponent, or a Planeswalker. So, instant sorcerer, Planeswalker.
All right, so Grey
not just burn
Merchant of
spells.
Asphodel hits the battlefield here, but it's pretty unimpressive in the sense that its devotion was 2. The good news, though, for Adrian is that he is going to be able to pressure Chandra with the combination of Mutavault plus the Grey Merchant, so he can keep that in check unless it eats a Lightning Strike here or something. I mean, he does have to ping a creature. He can just ping a creature. It doesn't. There's no downside. So this isn't indicative of a Lightning Strike for sure, but it's absolutely possible. Ash Zealot.
Yep, charging into the red zone. And the Grey Merchant of Asphodel does not have the ability to block thanks to Chandra Pyromaster's +1 ability.
That's right.
And now, next turn, Stuart has access to Chandra's Phoenix, so he can turn that Firefist Striker on, making it so that Adrian is unable to block once again. And Adrian, even if he has 2 blockers, he won't be able to block with either, thanks to Firefist Striker and Chandra in conjunction with one another.
That's right.
So now Adrian's going to start needing to fire off removal spells if he's going to want to stay in this game. And even if he does so, he's still under the gun with the Chandra pounding him down.
Now, does he just attack Chandra with his Grey Merchant here then?
I think you have to. I mean, it's very unlikely that you're going to get the opportunity to block when you pass the turn at all, no matter what.
Yeah.
So your
Except for
blockers
Mutavault.
aren't really relevant.
Mutavault gets around all that
Yeah,
stuff.
Mutavault can block. Mutavault can block pretty well.
So he can trade it off for the Firefist Striker, for example.
Yes. However, I think that
But he's going to have to send in the Grey Merchant here because, like you mentioned, the chances that it blocks are just extremely small. I mean,
yeah, I
Chandra's
think
going to
he
hit it
really
for free.
wants to pressure this Chandra. And if you just attack it with the Gray Merchant, then next turn it goes back to 5, and then Gray Merchant in conjunction with Mutavault no longer deals with it. So if you're going to attack Chandra, you need to do it with both the Mutavault and the Gray Merchant. Unless, of course, he has some other sort of plan. Like, he could have another Gaze of Granite and be attempting to get to 7 lands. Which would be great for him.
Well, he's certainly in the tank here. Plays his 6th land.
Not an easy game right now for Adrian Sullivan.
All right, we're going to see an Abrupt Decay here. What has he got? No, it's just the other Doomblade to kill Fire Fist Striker. Activate, attack both. All right. Looks like Adrian came to a similar conclusion that you did there, Jake.
I like this attack a lot. I like this line a lot from Adrian. I think it's great. This is exactly what I would have done.
All right. So pass the turn back, and Stuart Hunt draws an Ash Zealot for the turn. That's an interesting draw. Ash Zealot goes into Shields Up mode pretty nicely when you get them in multiples.
Yeah, multiple first striking blockers is really good against a lot of people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, against a deck like Adrian's, he has things like Abrupt Decay and Doomblade, which really break that up and give your opponent an opportunity to 2-for-1 you when you try to double block with first strike guys. So I'm not sure if we're going to see that play come up here.
Okay.
Because of the particular matchup that's involved. All right, so Stuart weighing his options here.
Remember, these players are playing for day 2 here, so they're going to take a little bit of extra time to make sure that they get their sequencing right and don't mess up at this point.
It would be a shame to make it this far, only to lose to some
self-inflicted error.
Yes. Right, so a Rakdos Cackler. A Chandra's Phoenix, I assume, coming out.
Yep, there it is. And he's going to attack with both of them, so that's 4 damage coming. And Adrian Sullivan, this is going to knock him down to 8, potentially. All right, looks like he's going to fire off that Abrupt Decay we were talking about earlier.
I would actually be quite surprised if he uses that Abrupt Decay here, especially if he has Gaze of Granite in hand. But he does. If he has Gaze of Granite in hand. But it looks like Adrian does have a plan here. Going to 10 here. He's trying to preserve his life total to the point where, he doesn't know that Stuart has another Chandra in hand. So he's just trying to keep his life total at a point where he can eventually Gaze of Granite for 4, and that will be enough for him to take this game over. Just a Gaze of Granite for 2.
So Gaze of Granite takes out those 2 creatures. He gets in there and finishes off Chandra Pyromaster. So not a bad sequence there for Adrian.
No, not at all. And I mean, it's looking like he's not in the worst spot here. However, his opponent is once again going to get to stick this Chandra and return the Chandra's Phoenix back to his hand. Adrian will be unable to apply enough pressure onto the Chandra to win here, or to kill it right off the bat. So an Ash Zealot coming down.
Chipping away at Adrian Sullivan's life total.
Hammer of Perforos. And here's the issue with using that Abrupt Decay earlier. Hammer of Perforos comes down. That's going to be a pretty major issue for Adrian. Oh, but from the looks of it, Adrian looks to have drawn Desecration Demon.
He did. I think he might even have 2 in his hand.
Okay, well, that's great news for Adrian because Desecration Demon is an excellent, excellent, excellent way of pressuring Chandra. He still has 8 life, which is plenty. I really like Adrian's chances here.
I like it too. I'm trying to get into a glimpse of that other card that Adrian has, but the one Desecration Demon can do some pretty nice work. I mean, sure, Stuart can find ways to pressure through some damage here or there by maybe using his hammer, sacking an Ash Zealot to tap down the thing. Oh, and a Pack Rat as well. That's what the other card was. So things looking pretty good for Adrian Sullivan. He has managed to stabilize, though he is only at 8 life, and we've seen Stuart's deck can do a bunch of damage at once. Fanatic of Mogus and cards like that. I mean, that would do 5 of it right here as an example.
And this demon is going to cause some real issues. Unfortunately, though, Adrian, at 8, this is definitely a game where he can lose. He's against a red deck. They do have access to a lot of burn. Adrian's just looking to draw that Grey Merchant of Asphodel that can catapult him to victory by itself. So Chandra Pyromaster coming down, likely going to tick up 1. And that's going to make it so the Pack Rat goes ahead and dies. Shoots it dead.
That does kill Pack Rat, so that's a good start. You see Adrian knock the top of his deck. I don't know what that does, but
I think it increases your chance of drawing Grey Merchant of Asphodel. That's the plan.
You ran the numbers?
I ran the numbers.
All right.
Works out that way.
I'll try that in limited.
So Adrian presumably going to kill this Chandra here.
Mm-hmm. So Grey Merchant doing good work on defense here. All right. And the follow-up play, is a Night Veil Spectre.
That's great.
Very nice draw
Yeah,
here.
that's a very, very nice draw step.
That can start getting him way ahead in the game if it's able to stick around for a little while. Remember, his life total's down to 7 here. So he's got to be careful.
Interestingly enough, he can cast a Frostburn Weird if it's his first hit.
Mm.
And it would be really good, too.
That is a huge coin that he uses to remind him of stuff on top of his deck. All right, so there's a Fanatic of Mogus. Now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage here. That's going to drop Adrian down to 2, and that cannot be good news if you're sitting in Adrian Sullivan. See, that means another Fanatic, a Magma Jet, a Lightning Strike, a Chandra for a couple of turns. There's a lot of ways that Adrian can lose now. So you mentioned that he was tapping the top of his deck hoping to draw a Grey Merchant. Well, he better tap hard because his clock is going to be very small here. Now remember, this Fanatic does in fact have haste thanks to the Hammer of Perforos, and it looks like he's going to battle with it here.
Yeah, I think Adrian's probably going to trade his Mutavault for this Fanatic. That seems like the best line of play.
That seems really good, yeah, because that makes any Grey Merchant draws just backbreaking.
Yeah, then the Grey Merchant's probably victory anyway.
It would be 9.
But yeah, it would be a very compelling and it would be a decisive victory to draw the Grey Merchant if you just trade with the Mutavault. I'm going to go ahead and trade with his Grey Merchant, though. Perhaps there's some sort of reanimation effect in Adrian's deck. So
absolutely could be. Rescue from the Underworld's a card that people like. All right, here it is. He taps the top of the deck. Is it a Grey Merchant? Stuart's at 18 life, Jake, so he's well out of range from dying anytime too soon, since it seems like that Desecration Demon's going to be held back effectively to block potential golems. Well, he didn't windmill it. He put it down in front of him and then put his hands on his head.
This could be a pretty difficult draw step here for Adrian.
All right, first things first, attack with Desecration Demon. Get in there, 3-turn clock, and it's another Desecration Demon. So it actually creates a 1-turn clock here. Now all of a sudden Stewart has to find a way to interact with Desecration Demon or just kill his opponent. Can he do it? I couldn't see what he drew. Adrian kind of puts his arms out like, do you got me? No cards in hand for Adrian Sullivan. Oh, it's a Chandra's Phoenix, which would be lethal except for that Desecration Demon. Does he have enough mana to... No, the Mutavault is going to hold things off because he, even if he wants to use the hammer and cast the Chandra's Phoenix, he still can't quite get through. Red Rashad token hits the battlefield. That's a 3/3 golem. It happens to have haste because of the hammer. Now, he can live a turn here, though, right? He can play the Phoenix and just chump block and hope to draw a Magma Jet or a Fanatic of Mogus or a Lightning Strike.
I mean, I think the correct play is to cast your Phoenix and then... Do you just charge with everybody? No, you
No,
can't
if you charge with everybody, it doesn't work because of the Mutavault. The Mutavault can jump in front of the Golem. The Ash Zealot gets eaten by the Spectre. And the Chandra's Phoenix gets eaten by the Desecration Demon. So that plan doesn't work. That leaves him dead on board.
Well, he's not dead on board because then he can sacrifice the Golem to tap a demon.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
And he gives himself a draw step to draw a burn spell.
Yeah.
But
so
I'm just trying to think if he has multiple draw steps to draw a burn spell if he
doesn't attack or does attack. Yeah, no, you're totally right because he can start just eating through his lands with hammer to keep one of the Desecration Demons down. So that'd buy him a draw step here. If you combine that with the Chandra's Phoenix, it could be 2 draw steps that he could get to. Now, remember, Adrian Sullivan also gets those draw steps and can find, a Gray Merchant or something, or maybe a way just to kill the Phoenix and just kill him.
Yeah, and a Gray Merchant at this point would drain Stewart for 9 points of life. And if that ends up happening, then it's almost certain that...
All right. So... Okay, so he's going to use it to offensively tap down the Desecration Demon, but that still leaves 2 blockers here, though one of them must be chumped.
But now he's dead on board.
But now he's going to be dead on board.
Oh, no, he's not. He has the 3/3 to tap a demon.
Oh, the 3/3 will still be alive. You're right. We just talked about that a second ago. You'd think I'd remember that. But yeah, all right, so he has that. All right, but let's see what Adrian Sullivan draws here, because he can end this game. It was a Gaze of Granite.
It looked like it was.
And he can do it for 0 here.
He can just do it for 0. And
kill the token. And this is pre-combat, so that should do it. I believe Adrian Sullivan will have 1 here.
Yep.
He did it for 2. But it's the same thing.
Yes, same thing.
So that dies. Attack with my team. And that's going to do it. Adrian Sullivan into day 2 with his kind of rogue bug deck.
Yeah, pretty cool deck there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That was a pretty